Hi everybody, this is Alice, the Jeweled Hedgehog, back for another installment of my 100-day blog challenge. Pretty excited about this. I have far more staying power than I ever thought I would. Actually, I think tonight's vlog is the most challenging of any of the vlogs I've done so far, mainly because I'm just very, very tired tonight. I had a good evening. Went over to my sister's. Let's see. Took my middle niece, Kat, to the library, and then of course had dinner over there like I always do on Friday nights. Um, but I'm just back now and kind of sleepy and out of it. Anyway, oh, I've got yet another one of my funny geeky t-shirts on I thought I'd show you. This one says, "With our powers combined, we are platypus." So this is like the nerdy superhero t-shirt. Basically there's a alligator, because a platypus has its legs stuck out to the sides. So it walks more like an alligator actually than it does like a mammal. It has a beaver tail. You can see the beaver tail. It's venomous, actually. So that's what the cobra, I guess, is representing. And it has webbed feet and a duck-like bill, and it lays eggs. So there you go. I just love it. With our powers combined, dun-dun-dun-dun, we are platypus. Anyway, I love t-shirts that have, funny or unusual sayings on them. So this is the t-shirt of the evening. Okay, on my goals. Let's see. Watches, they're in the bag. They will get done tomorrow. I'm not generally a mall person. I like to go to, craft stores and things like that, but there are not any craft stores in the same malls, or actually any bookstores in the mall where the little kiosk where I get the watch batteries put in is, but there is a Target, so that'll work out. So anyway, I wanted to get this done at the beginning of the week so I wouldn't be panicking at the end of the week. But here I am rushing to the mall on Saturday. Well, we'll be rushing to the mall on Saturday to get those watch batteries in there. Breathing is pretty much a done deal. I think about it all the time. And I have also been pulling my posture up whenever I think of it, so yay on that. Coming up with recipes, I actually have been going through and marking things. So tomorrow I will either show you the shopping list or tell you about the completed grocery store trip, depending on whether I decide to go shopping for some basic staples of a healthy diet tomorrow or Sunday. So going good, I guess. Today, food-wise, the biggest challenge again was dinner because that involved eating with other people, and I did pretty well actually. Let's see. They had a main course that consisted of sausages. Now these are not, these are healthier forms of sausages. They're fresh sausages. They're made in a butcher shop, so they don't have any of the nitrates or nitrites, whatever those are, or any of the additives. It's just seasoned meat in a sausage. And they're relatively low fat compared to, I watched them being cooked, and they produced a lot less fat than some of the grocery store breakfast sausages that I'd seen. But I decided, no, I wasn't going to do that, and my sister had fish. She served some sole with herbs, and she did it in olive oil for me. So I had that, and I did go ahead and taste the sausage because everybody wanted me to. Let's see, what else did I have? They had soba noodles with a homemade sauce that was made out of cashew butter and I think soy sauce and whatever it is to kind of make that peanutty, in this case cashewy, nutty sauce that you often have with Asian food. And then we had a really big salad. So, on the whole, I did pretty well. It was not vegan, but it was not unhealthy. So I am pleased with that. Oh, and treats. Treats came up. Took my middle niece to the library. It is hot. It was like in the low 80s today. And I just was getting really, really antsy for something cold to either drink or eat. And it was one of those times when I was having a craving. A glass of ice water was not going to cut it. So on the way back from the library, back to my sister's home, we stopped at the grocery store, and I am proud of myself. She went just scampering off and got one of those little bags of Reese's Minis that you can get up by the registers. But I just kind of reined myself in and I said, okay, is there anything that I would consider good, because I was craving sweets, that would be less bad than, what I was going for. I was going to go and buy a box of Tutti Cuties or something. And what I ended up buying was one of those, relatively small size bottles of green goodness. I think the brand is Bolthouse. And they're pretty healthy. Now, they're loaded with sugar. And it's one of these things where the label that you read versus the ingredients that you look at aren't quite the same. I mean, it shows like this has a quarter of a pineapple, half an apple, a kiwi, and it says fruit smoothie. So it kind of leads you to believe that all these things are put in a big vat and blended with a blender and then dumped into the bottle. And then all the good greeny stuff like the spirulina and the guava grass and all those extras are dumped in too. But actually, if you read it, it will say something like pineapple from concentrate. And so I do not think it was anywhere in terms of healthiness as healthy as if I had been able to get all those green ingredients together, get the actual fruit, put it in a blender, and stir it up. The sugar content was pretty high, but at least it didn't have any additional sugar, although I'm very suspicious about what that from concentrate means. It did have a lot of really healthy green stuff though. So that was kind of that was not bad. I am pretty pleased with myself. That was a step in the right direction. And as for my niece, tall, thin, graceful, athletic, could probably eat the entire store's worth of treats and not have it affect her at all. Okay, I wanted to point out something about the treats. Treats are expensive, and it really did not hit me. I wish I had thought to dig the receipts out of my purse before I started filming, but I didn't. Basically, the library has a book sale in their basement, and after I picked up my book that was on hold, and she had selected her books, we went to the basement just to see what there was to see. I got 4 books, she got 4 books. That was a total of 8 books. And the whole bill, including tax, came to $10.07. Okay, so $10.07 got 8 books. 4 books for 2 people. The grocery store tab came to something like $7.39, a real close contender to that $10 receipt that got 8 books, and it got 1 bottle of green goodness and 1 of those small bags that you get from the register of Reese's Minis. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's just a $2 and some change difference between 8 books and 2 treats. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you get a treat craving. They really add up. So anyway, let's see, that's my status on that. I guess the things that I wanted to go over obviously were, like I wrote out in my little description, the health studies. Okay, what that means is there is so much information out there about how you're supposed to eat and what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to be healthy that I have decided to, actually, well, being me, it involves getting books. Get some books and sit down and read the ones that give more background information. Now, I had already done a lot of research on the plant-based diets, but there seems to be a fairly strong body of conflicting research saying that the grain and carbohydrate-based diets are not as good for us as we're being told. So I have two things going on: my health, which is and weight loss, which is a concern, and also my desire. The vegan desire springs from the desire to not want to have to kill animals in order to eat. But the middle ground is I know that I am physically designed to be an omnivore. So I just have to see what works for me. And whatever direction I go in, even if meat is going to be consumed, it is going to be, I don't know what the right words are, socially responsible meat. It's going to come from small local farms. And I know that you can actually get that kind of meat at the farmer's market in Tacoma Park. You can get it at My Organic Market. So yes, it is an animal. It is raised for food, and it is going to be slaughtered. But they are generally grass-fed. They're fed the diet appropriate to what kind of animal they are, and they are free range. And it's kind of like they're raised on what we think animals are raised on, Old MacDonald's farm. So I'm weighing this out, and as I think I've mentioned before that I got some book recommendations, and one was available at the library, and two of them were not. And the two that were not were Primal Body, Primal Mind. This just came from Amazon today. And I read the reviews, and whatever conclusions I draw on the research, the reviews stated that this was a pretty comprehensive book with a lot of sources cited. So it's not just going to be somebody saying, no, eat meat instead. It's going to be people quoting studies and things. If I want to read it with my laptop on, I can reach over and Google the studies, and presumably, I know this sounds really, really being a stickler, but verify. Because a lot of times I feel like when there's so many people saying so many different things, you wonder, what are they basing it on? And so there's, number one, a lot of information in here, and the little bits I've kind of perused really do show the sources cited right in the text. So I'm very pleased with this. And the other book I got is a reprint of an old classic. It's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. The author is Weston A. Price, DDS. And his original copy of this was written 70 years ago. But there's a foundation, Price Potimer Nutrition Foundation, and they keep it updated with more recent research. And basically what he was a dentist and dental researcher. And he was interested in, there are a lot of pictures in here, and this book is apparently cited as a source in a lot of other books. He went around concerned about what was happening to people's dental health, and why, when you think of modern as being better and new and improved, and if modern, new, improved nutrition went to areas of the world that 70 years ago were just, getting these so-called improvements, why did everything just basically, to be blunt, go to hell with their teeth? And he also became interested not just in tooth decay, but in the disease rates among these people. And apparently this book is a study on the very clear-cut link between the health risks of what we consider a modern, refined, and processed diet, and the original diets of these people in their native areas. And their diets were not all the same, because he went all over the world. But the kind of unifying factor, was they switched up from their original diet to this, modern diet, and their health went downhill. So that is very, very interesting. And I know that there were, I know with rice, and I don't know when these studies were done, but basically, the whole idea of the converted rice that you put the B vitamins and I think niacin and things back into the rice, to me is just hilarious. Because when people ate the unhulled rice, when they ate, what we would call brown rice or wild rice, they were fine. And then they got the westernized idea of taking off the hulls and making white rice, and they got diseases. I think one of them was rickets. I think that was what it was called. They got serious diseases, and because their diet had been reliant on the rice, and their bodies needed the minerals that were, needed the vitamins, minerals, whatever that were in the hulls that were being taken off. And what sort of leaves me baffled about the nutrition and healthcare community is that instead of telling people, oh, stop making white rice, leave it the way it grows, they instead said, oh, we've identified some nutrients that we think we're taking out, so we'll put those back in. And it's always left me wondering, did you really identify every nutrient? I mean, what if 100 years from now we find 20 different nutrients that we don't even know about now? So anyway, I'm really, really rambling, but yeah, this is something that it's kind of a dense book, and it's almost kind of like an anthropology book, but I think it's going to be extremely interesting, and this is information that I want. So when I make a decision as to how I'm going to go about planning my diet, I want to know that, I've given it the best amount of thought that I can. And that doesn't mean I'm not doing anything now. I'm eliminating as many processed foods as I can. And I'm trying to work out a battle plan for how to do that, because food laziness has been a primary factor in my entire adult life. Trying to switch over to organic whenever I can. And even if I do not necessarily end up vegan, it's amazing when I started the vegan diet, realizing really how little fruits and vegetables we put in our diets. So that's something that I'm really striving for, to add lots and lots of fruits and veggies in my diet. Okay, so that's what those two books are. Then my brief little book haul starts with a checked out of the library book, A Spot of Bother by Mark Haddon. This was recommended by Bruno of Dump for Stump. And, I read maybe the first 25 pages or so while I was waiting for my niece to do her book selection. And it looks outrageous. It looks like so much fun. I mean, it's not funny as in jokes or ridiculous situations, but it has this kind of wry, dry voice to the main character that is really appealing and is amusing. So I think this is going to turn out to be a very enjoyable read. And then my 4 books from the book sale are Alistair Reynolds' Absolution Gap. And he writes good old-fashioned standard space opera science fiction. I mean, they're very, very good. He has very dense, very intricate plots. So his books are always interesting. They never, never drag. They are very complex, but his characters are interesting, but because of kind of the nature of his writing, you don't get sucked into the characters as much as you just get sucked into the situation and the storyline. So yeah, this is like, and I have read the first 2. This is the 3rd of a trilogy, although he's written a lot of other standalone books. And I found this one for $2. Is kind of expensive. They must know it's the 3rd of a trilogy. But anyway, got this one for $2. Alice Hoffman, The Story Sisters. There, my fingers are out of the way. I haven't read this one yet. I absolutely love Alice Hoffman. She is a beautiful lyrical writer. She just writes enjoyable books. This one seems to be a, let's see, how do they describe it? The lives of 3 sisters Ellie, Claire, and Meg each has a fate she must meet alone, one on a country road, one in the streets of Paris, and one in the corridors of her own imagination. At once a coming-of-age tale, a family saga, and a love story of erotic longing, the Story Sisters shifts through the miraculous and the mundane as the girls become women and their choices haunt them, change them, and finally redeem them. And so anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. This one I just picked up kind of on a whim. I had seen it before. This is called A Field of Darkness, and the author is Cornelia with a price tag over her last name, Cornelia Reed. This one and Story Sisters were $1.50. And let's see, the back. Oh, this was nominated for the Edgar Award for the best first novel. Let's see, there are people who can be happy anywhere. I am not one of them. When the house on the next street went up in flames for the second night in a row, I wondered again what I was doing in Syracuse, and that kind of caught my attention. Madeline Dare would be the first to tell you her money is so old there's none left. A former socialite from an aristocratic family in decline, Maddie is a tough-talking would-be journalist exiled to the Rust Belt of upstate New York. Her prospects for changing her dreary lifestyle seem dim, until a set of dog tags found at a decades-old murder site is linked to her family. Shocked into action, Maddie embarks on a search that takes her from the derelict smokestacks of Syracuse to the posh mansions of Long Island's Gold Coast. But instead of the warm refuge of home, this prodigal daughter soon uncovers dark, sinister secrets that will violently challenge everything she believes in and holds dear. And it's described as a smart, darkly funny, and intense read. So I decided to give it a try. Then the final book is Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove. And this has been recommended to me by friends a number of times. I've never been a big fan of Westerns, but finally, a friend of mine who is not a big fan of Westerns either said she considers this her favorite book of all times. And I decided, okay, I will, here it is. It's $1.50. Why not? So that is that. And then yesterday I had talked about having gotten Crochet magazine and how I would show you a little bit of it now that I've had a chance to look through it. And on the cover it shows this shamrock lace cardigan. And actually, this is not something that I like. I do not like intricate designs coupled with fancy yarn. But the more I looked at this cardigan, the more I realized it would be stunning. It would be absolutely stunning if it were done in a solid color. Or maybe the kind of variegated yarn that just has very minimal variegation. Very small pattern changes. It might show up a little better here. And maybe this can help you see how, really pretty it would be. I think if it didn't have that distracting color on it. This one goes up to a 3X. I mean, sadly, I know a lot of bigger people. It's rare. Sometimes I find patterns that go up to 5X. Luckily, I wear generally a 3X because I like loose, baggy clothes. A 2X is a better fit, so I can wear these. But I mean, this is a step up from a lot of magazines where you get extra small to extra large and then forget it. Cute hat. But this has some gorgeous cardigans in it. This has interesting instructions for something called backed broomstick lace because it has a pattern for a backed broomstick clutch, and it looks like they are going to have you do the backing and the broomstick simultaneously. Introduction to Japanese Crochet. This is one of these magazines that I just happens to be an issue where pretty much everything I have looked at impresses me. Here is a really pretty short cardigan. It has a very, very attractive lacy pattern to it. And although it's only sized to 3X, it calls for a size 2 fine yarn. So you might be able, by using a thicker yarn, to get it to go up a higher gauge. Cute little tank top. This is really cool. Spider lace jacket. I think Dragon Chick 19 is doing a spider lace shawl. And then I saw this spider lace jacket. So spider lace must be really popular right now. Again, this is a 3X. Here's a really pretty top. Again, I'm inclined to think this would look prettier in one single color. This one goes up to 3X. This magazine is just, really doing its best here. Now this one goes to 2X. So now it's a really pretty jacket. It looks almost like broomstick lace, but it's not. So I would, if you like pretty lacy things, and you like cardigans or sweaters, whatever, here's another one, more of a classic shape, but very, very pretty. And it also goes up to 3X. Of course, everything that goes up to 3X has the standard teeny tiny sizes. This one, I like the ruffly look. I think it's really cute. But those buttons on the front are not good for people who have any kind of bulges, whether it's your boobs, like some people have, or your belly, like I have. The way they have the buttons with the big spaces in between, it would make my belly look, like it was sticking out 5 feet. So if I were in love with this, which I don't think I am, I would do it with either no buttons and just have it be, hanging loosely, or have one button up here at the top. Oh no, this is stunning. I am sure one of my nieces is going to want this. This is done in fingering weight yarn, and this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern for a lace cardigan. Actually, it's a pullover. They call it a lace top, actually. So, yeah, this must be their lacy issue. Lacy spaces wrap. A necklace made out of flowers. Well, there we go. There's the right size for all the jewelry makers. I'm gonna rush through this because my video, as usual, is too long. Very nice shawl. It's a pretty subtle pattern, so that works well actually with colorful yarn. So yeah, there's a handbag. Children's stuff. Love children's stuff. A valance, which I think is really cool. I'm assuming you could just make the valance longer and modify it into a curtain. Now here's something I love. This is a granny square afghan with really pretty granny squares. But the pattern is one of these, what do you call it? Join as you go motifs. So there's no sewing. Haha. It has like a little stitch guide just to learn some new stitches. I'm really, really impressed with this. I subscribed to the magazine, and like a dummy, I started panicking, thinking, why on earth did I subscribe to a magazine? I could be stuck with something with nothing in it that I had any interest in at all. But this one is just fabulous. I think I like everything in it that I have seen. Okay, I'm almost up to half an hour. If you haven't seen my little comments, it's because I've been really busy and really tired. But tomorrow's Saturday. I can just relax and watch videos. How lovely. Anyway, I'm very, very tired. I will put links to people that I enjoy watching. If you're doing a vlog, and I love watching vlogs, I absolutely adore it. So, let me know. Anyhow, I'm really tired. Have a great Friday night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.